Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I'm 18 male. My grades had always been really good, so I managed to get a scholarship for a college I wanted to go to and had to go to a dorm near the campus. Now, the thing is, my mother, 42 female, and my father, 51 male, had a baby son a year ago despite my mother's age. I had no other siblings before, so it was a big adjustment. While I had no problems with the baby itself, my mother and father have been a lot less lenient with me now than they used to in the past. For example, they would tell me I shouldn't be spending so much money on useless things, video games, trading cards, figurines, etc., since I should spend more effort caring for the family unit. We're not a wealthy family, we're barely middle class. That's why I was motivated to get a scholarship in the first place. I used to work part-time way back, such as during summer vacation, when I was still in high school, and I actually pay most of my own luxuries, rather than from an allowance from my parents. The real problem, however, started when I discussed college with my parents a year ago. They didn't want me to move out, and instead said I should find a college closer to home. They said since they were old, having an able-bodied person at hand at all times would be safer for my brother. I didn't agree. The college I planned to go to was far away, so I couldn't stay with them, but it was much better than any of the local colleges. It took a while for them to finally accept the fact that I would be choosing to go rather than stay at home. Although I felt guilty at first, I thought it would be the best choice not just for me, but for the family as well. I didn't take a lot of stuff with me, just the things I thought I needed, like my laptop, clothes, school supplies, etc. I left the rest of my stuff at home. My college experience went pretty smoothly, and when the academic year ended, I decided to go back home, expecting a nice little trip back. When I arrived there, all seemed well. My father greeted me and so did my mom, carrying my little brother in her hands. After the exchange of greetings, I went to my room only to find boxes and boxes inside my room, and all my stuff like my old toys, video games, cards, figurines are missing. I went through some of the boxes and half of them were empty, and the others thankfully had my old stuff in it. I took count of the things inside the boxes and realized not everything was there. So I went to my mom to ask her what happened and where she kept my stuff. To my shock, she said she sold off the useless garbage cluttering my room that I wouldn't need anymore. I was angry and in a pretty annoyed tone asked her why she would do something like that without asking me. The look on my mom's face went sour. She said I shouldn't speak to her like that and that I wasn't an adult during the time I bought these things. So as she says, as a parent, she had the right to sell my stuff anytime to anyone she wanted to. I was not happy at all. I said I bought the majority of the stuff with my own money. But she said I wasn't being considerate to her as I'm her eldest son now, and that if I really wanted my things, I would have brought it over to my college dorm. She also said that I should act more mature now as I was a big brother and that I should be grateful for what I have. That didn't sound like even a remotely good reason, and so I went to my dad to see if he approved of what happened. While my dad did take my side a bit and said it wasn't fair to do so without my permission, he also said that I myself didn't take it into consideration their feelings when I went to college, despite their disapproval. I finally snapped at them and told them they should be grateful to have a son like me who even cared enough to get a scholarship and worked hard to get where I am. I demanded to know from my mother where she sold my belongings, but she didn't budge. I'm not sure what to do. Am I the a-hole? Am I too harsh on them? I didn't mean to disrespect my parents, but I thought they would be happy to have a son who was hardworking and securing a better future. But they were very ungrateful for my efforts. Update. My mom finally told me where she sold one of my old video game consoles. I really wanted that console since it was a white PlayStation 4. I went to the store that bought my PS4 and said I was the legal owner of said item. My mother never showed him a receipt, and as it was illegal for a shop to buy something without having a receipt, they had to give me back the PS4. Now the buyer is harassing my mom to return the money he gave back or he's calling the cops. It's been a few days now, but my mom hasn't paid the buyer back. She hasn't spoken to me in a while now. I feel awful. OP, as an 18-year-old, it's okay if you're not mature or want to be an adult yet. You did your best to secure a scholarship so your parents wouldn't have to pay for your college fees. That's you being considerate and trying to help out. Your parents decided to have another kid. They shouldn't throw the responsibility that comes with a kid on you. And they definitely shouldn't make you feel like you have to stop being your age just because you have a brother now. Your mom was wrong for selling your stuff without your permission. Even if you didn't take it to school, she should have asked if you still used it, but she didn't. So it's only fair she pays back the money she got from it now that it has been returned to you. Don't feel too bad about it. If you can have a conversation with them about how you feel, do it. You three need to apologize to one another and talk things out. Story 2. So for a little backstory, we're both 21 years old and in a college. We've been together about 6 months and our relationship has been somewhat rocky for a while before this happened. So about a month and a half ago, I missed a few pills and had unprotected sex with my boyfriend during that time. It took a week for us to figure out that we weren't still protected and that there was a chance I could be pregnant. We knew the date I was supposed to have my period and waited for it anxiously, and sure enough, it didn't come the day it was supposed to. In the days leading up to when I was supposed to have my period, I did a lot of soul searching and realized I couldn't terminate if I was pregnant, but wasn't sure how to bring it up to my boyfriend until I was a week late, and we were starting to get worried. He told me he would go half on an abortion, and I calmly said I didn't think I wanted one. Then he absolutely flipped out. He started yelling that I was ruining his life. He wasn't even sure if he liked me that much. He couldn't have a child with someone who wasn't Jewish, etc. He told me that I should drop out of college out of shame and kept calling our potential future child a bastard and asking me if I really wanted to be a single mother of a bastard child. He took me to the store to get a pregnancy test and screamed at me the whole ride there about how he was going to find a way to make me get an abortion because it wasn't fair to him. By the time we got to the store, I was in tears, and he refused to even look at me when we got the test and purchased it. The whole ride home, he just kept glaring at me and shaking his head. And I just kept saying over and over he could leave if it was positive. It was honestly the most terrified I had ever been in my life. It was dawning on me I was going to be completely alone in raising this, our potential child. Luckily, it turns out I wasn't pregnant. The second we got the negative result, his attitude completely shifted, and he immediately wanted to go out and celebrate. But I still haven't been able to shake this off feeling about the whole experience. Part of me thinks his reaction was justified, as it's natural to be scared in this situation. But I can't help but feel that a lot of his true feelings about me came out during the scare, and that his reaction was inappropriate. It hurts me that he wasn't able to control his emotions for my sake, and that he showed no willingness to help me out if I didn't do exactly what he wanted to do. I also wonder if I'm expecting too much from someone in such a scary situation though. I welcome your opinions, but please be civil. OP, your boyfriend handled the situation so poorly. He told you to your face that he doesn't like you that much and could never have a baby with you because you're not Jewish, something he was aware of before, and then screamed and tried to humiliate you. I can't believe he's still your boyfriend. It's time to think about your relationship and step up and do what needs to be done. I understand that he was probably really scared, but you were too. He even threatened to make you abort it. What did he mean by that? You obviously have no future together with him, and you shouldn't want to because the future with him would be awful from what you've said. You're not an a-hole, your boyfriend is. Now for some comments. You aren't the a-hole. He really did take it overboard by being really insensitive. I get that you're both college students, but he was only thinking about himself. To make you go through an abortion when you knew you wouldn't be able to handle it would leave you with so much guilt. My sister still struggles with her decision. Also, if part of his reasoning for not wanting a child with you is because you're not Jewish, then the relationship probably won't be permanent. You have a lot to consider right now. What the F? I can't put myself in your shoes, but I couldn't fathom sleeping next to, kissing, cuddling, or celebrating with someone who screamed at me, terrified me, made me cry and said the words, "I'm going to make you get an abortion," at all. let alone at a time of such vulnerability. Jesus Christ, what a psycho. It would be one thing if he had handled differing thoughts and feelings in a calm and collected way with discussion, but those are several irredeemable actions right there. Why are you doing anything except immediately running as far as possible from this a-hole? Run, far and fast, he has revealed his true nature. It should bother you. My ex said something similar along those lines when I was pregnant and said I wasn't getting an abortion. He flatly said there was no way I was having it. He couldn't force me to have an abortion, but he did start tripping me, forcefully bumping into walls, countertops, etc. He was deliberately trying to make me miscarry. Like an idiot, and because there was a lot of pressure on me to stay for the baby, I stuck it out. He never got any better with the abuse, and your boyfriend is making some pretty familiar threats. If he's not violent yet, if you stay with him, he will be. Story 3. Okay, so I managed at a restaurant owned by a douchebag of an owner who refused to allow us to pay regular staff a reasonable wage and refused to allow us a reasonable labor percentage. Wanted 21%, including management. Suffice it to say his expectations were absurd. However, the other 3 managers in the team were good people, and we had a few solid employees as well. A few months back, I put in my 2 weeks notice and my district manager pulled some strings and got me almost a $3 per hour raise, which is pretty damn significant. So I stayed, which was what he wanted. Obviously, I stuck it out for as long as I could, but the stress became too much and it was affecting my home life. I put in my 2 weeks notice knowing full well that they would be screwed because there is no way they would replace me within 2 weeks. And even with me, they were short-handed as we had just lost a full-time employee and fired 2 people. It's been a week and a half since I've officially been off payroll and they've opened late and closed early almost every day since then. This obviously affects the owner's profits, but I obviously don't care about that as he's a top-notch C-word. But it also affects my former co-workers, who I do care about. But I needed to remain sane. So I ask you guys, am I the a-hole here? Now for some comments. They didn't have an assistant manager, no one trained to take over. What would they do if you got sick? I'm gonna guess their plan would be force you to come in anyway, possibly poisoning the customers, which really clarifies who is the real a-hole here, not you. No, employees won't give you 1 second notice before letting you go. I learned that the hard way. That's why I don't respect the 2-week notice rule much. As for ex-co-workers, it's not your responsibility to keep working there for them. Any reasonable person wouldn't hold anything against you. Yes and no, or maybe it's better to say yes, but it's fine. Your co-workers are getting screwed over, certainly. And from their perspective, you might be the a-hole. However, that doesn't mean you weren't in the right. A shitty place to work is a shitty place to work. You did what you needed to do for you. To be honest, most of the negative feelings from your previous co-workers are probably going to be along the lines of, damn, really got out of here before I could, or lucky bastard. From your district manager's point of view, 100% you're the a-hole. But who actually cares about that? Sounds like a plus to me.